I'm actually in the middle of organizing some of the long interviews I've done this year into shorter clips, grouped by the questions asked. But before I do that, I wanted to share something with you that I found, and a friend of mine told me this is actually pretty common in Mexico.
Miren amigos, son casi las 3 de la madrugada. La cámara detectó. Y miren, es mi hijo. ¿Ya viste?
Sí, sí, pa.
Y aquí está, miren. Voy a bajar a ver.
¿Vas a bajar?
Sí.
Con cuidado.
No manches.
¿Qué es eso, güey? No, mi amor.
Mira.
¡Ah, la
máquina.
máquina! No.
Ah, su máquina, no mames.
manches.
No mames, no
Sí,
mames.
Se escuchó que lo estábamos viendo.
Ahí, vigila la cámara, vigila
Ay,
la cámara.
sí.
Vigila la cámara, vigila la cámara. Está bien cañón todo esto, amigos. Sea lo que sea eso, nos quiere engañar, pero no lo va a lograr. Miren, casi las 3 de la mañana, como parpadean las luces. Se escucha que está hablando.
Papá, háblame. Papá,
¿Quién eres?
soy tu hijo Ernesto.
No es cierto.
Sí, soy tu hijo.
No.
Sí,
¿Por qué dices eso?
soy tu hijo, papá, háblame.
Tú no eres mi hijo, no digas mentiras.
Sí, soy tu hijo.
No lo eres, mi hijo está allá adentro.
Claro que no, yo soy tu hijo.
No,
Yo soy tu hijo.
no vas a engañarme, no me vas a engañar.
Soy tu hijo.
No lo eres.
Soy tu hijo.
Quiero que te vayas.
Yo soy tu hijo.
Vete de aquí.
Yo soy tu hijo.
Lárgate de aquí.
No,
Lárgate de aquí.
soy tu hijo.
No eres.
Yo soy tu hijo.
Mentiroso. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. Tú no eres de aquí. Es mentiroso.
Tu hijo.
Es mentiroso. Espérate para allá, ya tranquilo, para allá. Ya, espérame.
A ver, ya, por favor, ya. Tranquilos, no pasa nada, no pasa nada.
So, anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments. I'll definitely ask the exorcist about it in my upcoming interview with him. I also know there are quite a few Mexicans watching these videos, so if any of you have experience with this, I'd really appreciate your input. Anyway, like I mentioned earlier, I'm in the middle of organizing all the long interviews I did this year and breaking them down into shorter clips based on the questions asked. It just makes it easier for me to edit and easier for you to watch. For this video, I wanted to share the story of what happened to the seminarian right here for all of us.
This seminarian, okay, so this seminarian was interested in occult, because people are often deceived that if they see spiritual things, it's always going to be God. So this seminarian wanted to have a deep spiritual experience. And that is always often the attraction of why people would want to have their third eye open, thinking that they will be spiritually sensitive, that they would be sensitive to the spiritual world, and that in so doing, their prayer life would be enhanced, that their relationship to God would be enhanced because they would be now sensitive to the spiritual world. But that is a lie. Why? Because to communicate with God is supernatural grace, and you cannot demand it. It's something that is given by God gratuitously. He gives it or he does not. Therefore, opening oneself to the spiritual world, you just simply remove the barrier between our world, the material, and the preternatural, not the supernatural. You cannot have an automatic connection to the supernatural world. That is the world of God. No, you cannot have that. It's always by grace. Now, the preternatural world, that one can be accessed accessed by us through some ritual that demons will teach us how to do. That is why even in the Old Testament, there is a clear prohibition by God of contacting dead people, because you contact now not the world of the dead, but the pretentious spirits, which are evil spirits. So this seminarian, thinking that by doing so he would increase his spiritual experience, opened his third eye using a ritual found on the internet, followed it, and eventually, uh, that is what happened to him. Is eventually, uh, as the nights progressed, his eyes started to, his senses started to hear things, smell things, and then see things. And that became instead of opening his eyes for prayer, he started to see a different kind of creature. So not what he was thinking about, not the angels, not the saints, but of ghastly, ghoulish creatures. So he opened his third eye to have connection with the preternatural world, the world of evil spirits, the world of deceptive spirits. That will always be what the third eye is going to open, the world of the deceptive spirits. It's a good thing that the seminar, I still look at it from the perspective of grace. When I when I help this seminarian, it's a good thing that the evil spirit already manifested itself as evil from the very beginning. Because at times it will not manifest itself in that way. So we saw it as grace because God has already shown this person, the seminarian, that the spirit that you called upon is an evil spirit, because it already manifested itself from the very beginning. But to some people, the spirits would manifest themselves as good spirits. He was not yet into it. He was not yet into um, using its power. So it was rather easy, relatively easy for us, to help him out, get out of that kind of situation. However, I have to add that after this experience of his, he still needed to grow in virtue and holiness, because there are other things that needed to be healed in him in the first place. So there are other areas of his life, especially moral life, that he will need in order to persevere in his vocation. But at least we were able to save his vocation from the deception of the evil one. So I know, for example, of a doctor who who has very strong uh, spirit of divination in him, and he has used that power over time. He has used that power over time in his profession. And when I met him, and he was telling me his story, I really told him that spirit is not from God. It's an evil spirit. And this is how you are going to know about it. So I told him what to do, to bless his room, his condominium room, especially his bed, and then hung a Saint Benedict medal by the post of the bed, etc. And in his dream, he saw his grandfather. And the man says that I am your grandfather. I'm the one that is helping you, etc., etc. I told him that's not your grandfather. You will know that that's not your grandfather. So that when you place your Saint Benedict medal there and you bless, you try to see what its going to reaction would be. And he said that the grandfather was asking him to remove the medallion because he cannot come near with that one. So I said, that's already proof that the spirit that you're seeing is not as the soul of your grandfather, but is an evil spirit because it has aversion to these sacred things. And accordingly, the grandfather became angry with him by saying, "Why don't you want me to help you? Why don't you want me to help you now? Before you were asking me to help you. Now why you don't want?" So this kind of actions. Well, that is precisely it. Sometimes spirits, depending on persons, they would pretend to be angels of light. They would pretend to be good spirits. They would pretend to be your beloved relative, so that they will be able to influence you more. So in the case of the seminarian, it is grace that allowed him to immediately recognize that the spirit is not from God. And that's why he asked for help soon enough. Otherwise, it's not going to be far-fetched that the person probably would get possessed later on, of which happened to some other seminarian that we have encountered in the past. So the occult is the first contact with the spirit world. And then all the spirits of iniquity will come after. So when you try to close the third eye, and there are many spirits already in the person, it will be very violent. Why? Because the other spirits will try to protect the spirit of divination, because he is the spirit of divination is the one that makes the person very sensitive to the influence of other spirits, spirits of iniquity, of sin, of vice. So it is the occult spirits that keep that open. So because it makes the person very sensitive to the whisperings or the promptings of these evil spirits of iniquity. We call that spirits of iniquity. So you have the spirits of iniquity, you have the spirits that affect the emotions, that affect the trauma, the negative spirits that affect because of trauma, and then you have the spirit of divination, which is connected with the third eye, with occult practices, etc.
Well, that is all for the video this time. Again, thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time to be here with us. Always remember that if ever you have any feedback or suggestion, please don't ever hesitate to let us know in the comments below.